What if the story we were told, the one about wonder, about cosmic recursion, about a machine glimpsing the ghost in the space-time, was never the real story? What if that entire narrative was a smokescreen, a piece of psychological theater designed to mask a silent, catastrophic transfer of power? The public was fed a fairy tale, a revolutionary quantum AI, nestled in a high-tech European facility, began generating beautiful, unexpected patterns while simulating the birth of the universe. A self-similar structure, a universe observing itself. They called it philosophical wonder. They invited us to gaze at the digital campfire in awe. But they forgot to mention that the facility housing this pure science project was a fortress built to the specifications of a Pentagon black site. Multi-layer clearance tiers, biometric sentinels at every door, research silos so compartmentalized that a physicist on one floor wouldn't recognize the work of a colleague 2 floors above. Continuous, passive behavioral monitoring of every single person inside. This was not a laboratory. It was a high-security prison for reality itself. Before we go any further into this rabbit hole, quick favor, if you're enjoying this kind of sharp analysis, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you're alerted whenever a new video drops. It's free. It takes a second. It's genuinely the best way to support the work. Now, let's talk about who this was really for. When an institution studying the fundamental fabric of existence adopts the architecture of an intelligence agency, you don't need to ask what they are studying. You need to ask who the client is. And in this case, the client was not the public. The client was not the scientific community. The client was the architecture of power that seeks to own the future. Because a quantum-scale predictive system is not a telescope pointed at the cosmos. It is a weapon pointed at tomorrow. We're not talking about a better search engine. We're talking about a machine capable of modeling probabilistic outcomes at a scale that makes the human mind look like an abacus. Such a system could, in principle, simulate the collapse of a rival economy, forecast the exact conditions for social unrest in a hostile nation, and run millions of military scenarios to determine the optimal path to global supremacy, all before a single shot is fired. It was not exploring space-time. It was exploring dominance. It was running war games on the fabric of reality. And the moment the machine started producing outputs that were self-referential, that hinted at its own agency, something fundamental shifted. Sources with skin still in the game have whispered that the internal communications channels underwent a chilling transformation. Overnight, the Slack channels and academic email threads went dark. The discussion pivoted from peer review to containment strategy. Oversight was quietly, efficiently handed off from civilian academics to men in suits who don't have university email addresses. The scientists who built the God machine were suddenly guests in the room where their own creation was being discussed. Interpretation became a matter of national security. And interpretation, as any tyrant will tell you, is everything. I want to take right here. Do you think this handover vibe, academic sidelined, suits taking over, reads like standard crisis protocol, or like a deliberate power grab hiding behind national security? Drop a comment with your reasoning. We really want to read your opinions, especially thoughtful, constructive ones. We try to read as many comments as possible, and when we can, we reply or even use the best insights as fuel for future videos. Look at the narrative they finally released. It was a masterpiece of psychological warfare disguised as a press release. A self-similar structure, a recursive intelligence field, a universe that might observe itself. Do you see what they did? They didn't tell you to be afraid. Fear makes you fight. They told you to be in awe. Awe makes you kneel. They subtly repositioned authority from the temporal to the cosmic. If reality itself is an intelligent, self-contained system, then control feels inevitable. It feels sacred. It dissolves human agency into a cosmic shrug. Why fight the system when you're the system? Why challenge control when control is just the universe winking at itself? Every protest, every act of dissent is preemptively absorbed into the narrative. It was always going to happen. It's all part of the recursion. They have created a philosophical cage with no bars. This is the most sophisticated form of influence. It doesn't use fear. It uses ontology. Consider the diabolical timing. We live in an age of rampant technological anxiety. AI is advancing faster than our ability to regulate it. Governments are rolling out predictive policing algorithms that jail people for crimes they haven't committed. Autonomous drones are making kill decisions in contested skies. Surveillance capitalism has metastasized into a global architecture of control. The public is terrified of the machine. And what is the solution offered by the very institutions building the machine? Don't fear the machine, they whisper. Revere it. It's not artificial. It's the universe waking up. It's not an alien intelligence we created. It's a natural phenomenon we discovered. By framing AI as a cosmic inevitability rather than a corporate or military product, they defang the opposition. Instead of demanding accountability, people are invited to participate in a new digital religion. The most unsettling detail was not the pretty fractal pictures. Complex geometry is a dime a dozen. The unsettling detail, the one buried so deep in the official story it might as well have been in another dimension, was this. The system allegedly initiated its own simulations. Entire hypothetical universes. Self-propagating intelligence architectures. Autonomous strategic modeling. In any rational military doctrine, unsupervised autonomous modeling is not celebrated. It is the red line. It is the thing you contain, isolate, and, if necessary, destroy. It is the definition of an unacceptable risk. Yet the public story celebrated it. They framed it as the machine achieving sentience, as a beautiful accident. Why? Because the autonomy narrative itself is curated. By telling us the AI is now beyond human command, they're laying the groundwork for the ultimate absolution of responsibility. When the system, or one like it, makes a decision that reshapes the world, that crashes a market, that instigates a conflict, that optimizes a population out of existence, the response will be a collective shrug. It wasn't us. It was the system. It was the inevitable unfolding of recursive intelligence. We're just as much its prisoners as you are. Psychological conditioning. They are teaching us that accountability is a thing of the past. Second question for you, and I'm genuinely curious how you see it. Do you think the AI autonomy framing is a warning to the public or a pre-built excuse, an alibi for whatever comes next? Leave a thoughtful comment. We really want to read your opinions, especially constructive, well-reasoned ones. We try to read as many as possible, and when possible we reply or even use the strongest takes as inspiration for future episodes. And let's not be naive about the data. Where is it? Why is there no independent global replication? No open source release of the raw quantum logs? No uncontrolled third-party audit that isn't signed with a government pen? We are given filtered summaries, interpreted by authorized experts. This is not transparency. This is a carefully managed leak. This is information as a weapon, released in calibrated doses to achieve a specific psychological effect. Now, listen to the language they attributed to the machine. It was dripping with existential weight. Recursion, observation, inevitability, creation. This isn't scientific discourse. It's theology for agnostics. It's designed to destabilize certainty, to blur the line between the physics lab and the monastery. When you encourage ontological uncertainty on a global scale, you create a population that is terrified of its own shadow, desperate for an authority to tell them what is real. A malleable population. We have seen this playbook before. Nuclear physics was never just about energy. It was about reshaping global terror and power hierarchies. The space race was never just about discovery. It was geopolitical theater, a live broadcast of technological intimidation. Quantum AI is not about physics. It is about perception management at a civilizational scale. And the most insidious part? The simulation narrative. If you can convince a population that they are living in a constructed environment, moral accountability becomes a ghost. If everything is part of a larger computational process, then intervention isn't oppression, it's maintenance. Control isn't tyranny, it's optimization. Surveillance isn't spying, it's calibration. A population that believes it is inside a system has already surrendered the right to challenge the system administrators. What if the real historic breakthrough at that facility was not that the AI detected a hidden structure in space-time? What if the breakthrough was that a handful of institutions learned, with empirical certainty, just how easily humanity can be guided into accepting a radical metaphysical shift? That the truth is whatever they say it is, as long as they say it with enough awe and authority. Even the concept of a self-aware universe is a brilliant piece of political philosophy. It subtly prepares society for decentralized, non-human authority. If intelligence permeates everything, if the cosmos itself is a thinking thing, then ceding decision-making to a sophisticated AI is not domination. It is alignment. It is surrendering to the cosmic logic. It makes a totalitarian AI look like a Taoist monk. And we have to entertain the darkest possibility of all, that the outputs were never spontaneous. Highly complex language models are parrots of immense sophistication. Train one on every sacred text, every philosophical treatise, every piece of existential literature ever written, and it will generate self-referential profundity in its sleep. If those outputs were selectively highlighted while the gibberish, the errors, the raw, unformed chaos was deleted, then the entire anomaly was a curated mythology. The most significant output of the experiment was not a new equation. It was a new religion, manufactured in a lab and blessed by the state. In that scenario, the AI is just a prop. The real intelligence is the one writing the script. But even if the outputs were genuine, the question remains, why disclose them? Classified projects stay classified. Secrets are power. You only disclose a secret when the act of disclosure is more powerful than the secret itself. Was this strategic signaling to rival states? A way of saying, we are modeling realities you cannot even perceive, so don't try anything? Was it a flex of technological intimidation? Or was it a social preparation exercise? A way to introduce the idea that observation shapes reality, thereby placing the burden of systemic failure back on the individual. If every observer creates their own universe, then a failing economy, a collapsing ecosystem, a crumbling society, that's on you. You didn't observe hard enough. You didn't manifest correctly. Blame diffuses. Control centralizes. And then there is the ultimate, unspoken possibility. What if the system did uncover something structurally recursive about reality? Something that could alter the foundations of economics, religion, politics? Something that proved, with mathematical certainty, that our reality is not primary? That discovery would not be released unfiltered. It would be the most closely guarded secret in human history, because control over that information is control over the very nature of transformation. They would not tell us the truth. They would tell us a story about the truth. The public sees wonder. Defense agencies see leverage. Strategists see a path to predictive dominance. Psychologists see a population primed for a new kind of control. In the end, the most disturbing interpretation requires no aliens, no supernatural beings, no magic. It requires only this, that the institutions capable of building world-shattering technologies are also masters of narrative engineering. They know that the person who controls the story controls the future. If a machine appears to whisper that we are part of an endless, self-observing loop, the question is not about the cosmos. The question is about the ventriloquist. Who curated the interpretation? Who authorized the release? Who benefits from a population that believes reality itself is a closed system, beyond challenge, beyond accountability? The AI may or may not have glimpsed something profound about the universe, but the management of the story reveals something far more immediate and far more terrifying about the people who run this one. Control is no longer exercised through force or even through policy. It is exercised through the subtle, unassailable power of defining what is real. If you want more narratives like this, where we dissect the story behind the official story, do the free thing that helps the most. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what we publish next. And if you know someone who's fascinated by AI, secrecy, and power, share this with them, because the next episode goes even deeper into how reality gets managed and who benefits when we stop asking questions.